everyone, and welcome to another episode of Open Observability Talks. Here at Open Observability Talks, we talk about anything DevOps, observability, and open source. So, as I always say, may the open source be with you. And for those joining us on the live stream on YouTube or Twitch, feel free to share questions and comments on the chat. We have the right panel for this to ask very clever questions. And with that, let's move on to today's episode. This month, we had the KubeCon Europe 2025 in London. And as always, here on the show, we take care of those who couldn't make it and bring you the best highlights. And who's best to give you that more than the CNCF Ambassadors, the ambassadors of the Cloud Native Computing Foundation that's behind KubeCon. So I invited two fellow ambassadors, Kasper, who was also the co-chair of this KubeCon, by the way, also for last year's KubeCons, and he's also a developer relations engineer at -0, and also William Rizzo, a consulting architect at Mirantis, and also a Linkerd ambassador, so a double title there. And let's add Kasper and William to the stream. Hey, folks, how's it going?
Hey.
Hello. Hey, Dalton.
Amazing having you, and the CNCF ambassador team. That's the best team to run this. We chatted over at KubeCon London, and now we can share a bit of the insights now here. So let's talk to Kasper. Like that was amazing. You were co-chairing this. You were on the big stage, and actually not your first time. You did that in the KubeCons also in 2024. What's it like being there up on the big stage?
Oh, that's frightening. That's so many people. No, it's a fun experience. It's for me, being a co-chair has been, so this was my last time as co-chair, so now I've done 3. You get to do 3 KubeCons in a row. EU last year in Paris, then Salt Lake City in North America, and then London here was my last. And there's so much things going on behind the scenes that you don't see, like just attending KubeCon. It's really interesting. And then, of course, doing the keynote, that is a special experience in itself. Being able to select a topic that you think the community is really interested in, and just try and highlight and talk about that. So that's been a great experience, and I hope everyone enjoyed this KubeCon as well. We put a lot of time and effort in selecting really, really good talks and laying out the keynote agenda as good as possible, hopefully. But I guess we'll talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, we all had our time, obviously not in a big stage as you, Kasper, but William and I also had our breakout sessions there, here and there. William, tell us a bit about yourself.
About myself or about my experience at KubeCon?
Let's start with the words so people know who they're going.
Okay. My experience at KubeCon. I'll go with that one first. So I found this KubeCon extremely appealing, extremely interesting for the talks that were selected. Indeed, thanks, Kasper. And the venue was extremely large, so for me was very hard to walk that what it felt to be a mile up and down. So yeah,
You should mention, by the way, for the audience who wasn't there, that was the biggest KubeCon to date. So that was 12,500 people around, roughly. So that was huge, both in the size of the venue and also in the size of the event for the people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was for me also. Like I posted after coming back that this was a very, very intense event also for me, and wearing also so many hats, both with my company and as an ambassador and a lecturer, and so many things that you juggle at the same time. So that's amazing. So, but one of the things actually that we talked just before going live was something that you said very nicely, William, about having the platform engineering meeting AI as a big theme on this KubeCon. Can you tell us a bit about your experience there?
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit of context. When I was the KubeCon in Paris, I had the feeling that was very much AI focused. What I was seeing and what I was hearing. And while it's it's undeniable, AI is the trend, right? Is the hype, is the trend, is where big VCs are putting the big bucks on. There are also people that are not doing specifically AI, but they might be enabling it, but not it's not directly their business. They're doing security, they're doing observability. They're good old things that we always did. They're still happening, and we still need people doing it and organizations doing it. So in Paris, I saw the focus was very strong on AI part. Um, However, in London, what I really liked was that things got back a little bit into balance. Platform engineering, of course, hey, happy days. It was still the very strong. It's still very strong. But I do see platform engineering being also associated more into the AI aspects, into the observability, into security, which was kind of a live a live motive throughout several talks and several keynotes as well. The how the thing intersect and when things intersect, we like to say that it's a platform. So yes, that's what I've seen. I like it. I liked it very much.
Casper, you also
Yeah.
long mileage with
Yeah.
what did you experience?
Yeah, I can also give some context around why it is. So last year in Paris, we tried something where we actually did themes each day of the keynotes, which I think the first one was definitely AI. I can't remember. I think platform engineering, and then we did 10 years of Kubernetes on the last day, or more community focused. And I definitely understand that if you're not into AI or not doing anything in relation to AI, then Wednesday last year in Paris must have been a little bit frustrating to sit through 1.5 hours of AI talks, definitely. So I think this time we tried something a little bit different, mixing it up, doing a little bit more random selection of talks, just putting them in there. Of course, try to make a flow, but not focusing on a single topic for each of the days. And I think that worked pretty well, catering for all different technologies, all different tracks as much as possible. I definitely also think, as William also mentioned, that platform engineering is definitely maybe after AI or on sort of the same level is the two. That's probably the two hottest topics right now. And I hope observability also got a little bit of love. I tried to put a little bit more focus on it also in my keynote. I think we sort of missed a little bit of focus around observability because we've been focusing a lot on like making it easy for developers to get up and running and making it into production, but maybe forgot a little bit about sort of bridging the last part of owning a service. Is actually also like observing, monitoring, reacting to when things go wrong. So I've seen a little bit of a gap there between platform engineering and observability, and I hope I tried to focus a little bit on that in my keynote, on how we can sort of bridge that a little bit more with some of the tools that are available now.
Yeah, and I think that if you, first of all, everyone who misses anything about observability, we have open observability talks. That's why we're here on the show. So promising to give you all the highlights on observability as well, and follow the show if you're not a regular yet. And also, I do think that it's interesting to talk about. First of all, and there are also before KubeCon, for those who don't know, there's like co-located events, one of which is dedicated for platform engineering. It's called PlatformCon. There's another one, by the way, for Observability Day that I had the honor of speaking at this year as well. So there are also more focused days as part and activities as part of the co-located events. For those who are now gearing towards the next KubeCons, do keep an eye out for the co-located events on that. And by the way, one of the other events that there are also co-located events that are dedicated for specific technologies or specific projects. One of which is Backstage Con, that's focused on Backstage, and I was actually quite excited. It just turned 5. We celebrated KubeCon, Backstage Con, and that was amazing to see. The project is doing very, very well. Look at the stat that I saw, like around 1.6 thousand contributors, 6.3 something thousand forks, hundreds of plugins, thousands of adopters. Really a vibrant community and a vibrant project that is gaining massive adoption. I still remember your talk about that back from your days at Lunar Bank, Kasper, about that, if I'm not mistaken. So you go way back with the project as an early adopter. What do you,
Yes.
can you give us a bit of what you see about the project to date?
Yeah. So when I worked at Lunar, we started pretty early with Backstage. I think the project was announced like in April, May, something like that, 2020, something like that. And I think we were already trying to get it into production like October, November that year. We struggled a lot. It was a lot of work. It was very, very early days. Lot of breaking changes for a couple of years, I think, as far as I remember at least. But I definitely think that the community has grown a lot. It's become stable and it works really, really well. I think it's a great tool for building your internal developer platform. I know this was also a topic at KubeCon and at least in the hallway tracks around what is it? Is it a portal? Is it a platform you're building? I think there's some confusion in that space as well. And I think we can use Backstage maybe to some extent and call that a portal. That is really sort of where you get your insight. You can, of course, also create like events based on whatever you do in there that actually does something to your infrastructure. But I think that's sort of the distinction that when we have a platform, we have some orchestrators or something else that are orchestrating all the things underneath. And then we have the portal that basically instruct the orchestrator to do something. So I think that was some distinction there. We also did have a lot of the same stuff at Lunar back then. We built some operators. So when we were creating things in Backstage, we created CRDs, and CRDs were committed somewhere, and then we had like an orchestrator actually applying stuff and doing all the hard work underneath. So that's a distinction, and we should probably align on what IDP stands for, and I'm not really sure what the official. Maybe William has some more insights on this, because I think you're probably these days more in the observability, or not observability, platform engineering space than I am.
So
Yeah,
and by the way, just for those who are less familiar with Backstage or curious to hear, now that it turned 5, how it all started. I actually hosted here on the show a few years back. At the time, the person who headed the engineering inside Spotify, by the way, this is a project that spun out of Spotify, for those who don't know in the audience. So both how Spotify came up with this idea as an internal tool for their sake, and then also the journey to open source it and make it part of the Cloud Native Computing Foundation. So for those who missed this, it was a very cool episode. I shared the link here with the folks on the live stream. I also share with the folks on the show notes for the ones that are listening on the podcast. Yeah, William, maybe you can chime in and tell us a bit about what's the recent updates from Backstage going about Backstage.
Well, about Backstage itself, well, I cannot give recent updates. I'm not one of those that believe that Backstage is a platform. I believe the Backstage, it's a portal to build portals for platforms. So, in my opinion, what Kasper said it's absolutely correct. Backstage is what is the developer are interfacing with, what they're talking with, what an orchestrator is interfacing with as well. So with that IDP for me stands internal developer platform. For somebody, it's internal developer portals, but a portal is not a platform. So that we always have that thing, right? I mean, what we are strong in platform engineering is that we have components and we have the developers, and we have what connects those components together, what that is a thread between the developer and the core of our platform. So so the value that developer needs to build. So that's the platform engineering. And like somebody said, a Git repository can just be the platform if that's bring the value to the organization. So Backstage is absolutely fantastic. Absolutely agree. I I use it, abuse it, and fun with it, but it's not a platform.
I think maybe an addition also. I attended a talk around how Spotify does fleet management. I think that is one of the issues that may have come after people have adopting Backstage, because now they've used the scaffolder. It becomes so easy to create a new repository, and now suddenly you have 500 repositories or thousands of repositories, and you need to make changes across all of those. So how do you do that? How do you migrate 5,000 services that have 5,000 different repositories in a simple way? I think we encountered this at Lunar as well. We were not like in the thousands, but in the hundreds of repositories. And how do you actually upgrade or a Docker image or whatever it might be, a dependency in a package in a Go service, whatever it might be, across a fleet of repositories? And it seems like that is sort of one of the next things, at least in Backstage, as I understood, is that fleet management is becoming like a plugin or something that you can use in the ecosystem as well to manage your fleet of services or code bases. We tried to build something ourselves. It was pretty early on, failed a little bit on that, and then bought a vendor to do something like this instead. But it's good to see that hopefully this now becomes part of the open source as well, so that people can easily manage all of their of the entire fleet, basically, right?
I went Backstage from my side. What I saw that there is new. They changed their something about the Backstage engine. Was it how the components are developed and loaded? Something. I'm not sure if that was the case. You know more, Kasper?
Yeah, I'm not sure about this one, but one of the things that I at least saw, maybe not this time because I didn't really attend that many Backstage talk this time, to be honest, but one of the things I've seen recently has been like the change in Backstage from actually when you need to configure a plugin or something like that, you actually need to do code changes, and that has definitely changed into now being like the standard of platform engineering, which is YAML, I guess. So you don't have to configure using code, but you can actually configure using YAML instead. I think that was one of the big hurdles early on for the Backstage adoption, was that people needed to understand how to use Node and all the different components.
Right.
How do you initialize plugins, and where do you inject this thing? And I think that has become a lot easier. I'm not sure if that is what you're talking about, but I think that is also one of the recent changes in the project that has made adoption easier for everyone.
I think it is. So no, we were discussing about what's new in Backstage, and Kasper brought in the plugins, the way of bringing in plugins, and I was thinking of the. I think I'm thinking about the backend. The Backstage backend, not architecture, but the backend, how to bring in backend components. But it's escaping me now. But it's a new way, and it's much better. And it's much better from what I see. Yeah. So I have to try it.
Nice. By the way, we talked about before about that last year. One of the themes was about celebrating, Kubernetes 10 years. We called it Kubernetes. And this year, the big announcement was actually celebrating a 10-year anniversary for the CNCF itself. So as CNCF ambassadors, we all celebrate a decade. That's an amazing achievement.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll have the theme, by the way, for those who are waiting, similar to the Kubernetes. So you look out for some local parts in your CNCF chapters and everything. So it'd be cool.
Yeah, I think Chris announced CN10 something. That's definitely.
I remember the funny name. That I need to catch up with that, and we'll have a dedicated logo for that and everything. So stay tuned. One of the interesting things that came out together with it was the CNCF survey with very interesting stats. So I'm also sharing the link here with the folks on the live stream. I'll share that also on the show notes. with the folks on the podcast. But there were some very, very interesting stats there. For example, we talked about a bit about observability before, and obviously open observability talks, so that's something that we discuss here often. But for example, amazing to see that OpenTelemetry was a top project used in production amongst all the incubating CNCF projects. 39% said that their organization uses OpenTelemetry in production, which is astounding, like almost 40%. And with by the way, 23% more currently evaluating using it in production. So really, really impressive. That's on the incubating side. And when you look at the graduated projects also, obviously, Kubernetes is, of course, the lead. 85% use it in production. So Kubernetes today is definitely a de facto standard for those who are still debating if it's a real thing. But also, again, on the observability side, we saw Prometheus. 73% use Prometheus in production. FluentD, for example, 39% use FluentD in production. 14% use Jaeger in production. So it was really impressive for me, at least, to look at these stats. Curious if you had any interesting insights from the stats.
Yeah, I haven't seen the stats, but just from the experience of I have joined sort of the vendor side, right? So I got Booth Duty as well, which was quite fun to try for a change. Instead of me going around talking to vendors, then people were coming to me talking about their issues, and we were just from that I got a lot of insights into where people are on their observability journey, and that's really interesting. And I can definitely also see sort of the same pattern that you just mentioned, that a lot of people are starting to use OpenTelemetry. It's impressive. I think people are still struggling, at least from my experience, with figuring out the distributed tracing. I guess that's sort of the problem that always arises. People are really loving Prometheus. Metrics is easy, logs is easy to get in there and up and running, but then traces and understanding the real value of traces is something that is not really fully understood widely yet, as far as I sort of understood from my experience talking to people. I really hope that with this project, OpenTelemetry, that we can hope that is really sort of the goal, right? Is to stop thinking of these three different signals and then see it as a systems problem rather than these signals. And then hopefully soon we'll have profiling as well, so that we will be able to jump and really dive deep into all of this. But I think people are still struggling with distributed tracing, and we need to, as a community, focus on how we can make sure that people are jumping on that. I can also just CNCF projects in general, get more projects to output real OpenTelemetry traces, and make sure that we, as a community, also embrace this. I think that's something we need to focus on, at least in the next couple of years, to get fully there. We are.
For sure.
We are a long way, but there's still work to be done.
Yeah, no, I remember being on stage at KubeCon talking about OpenTelemetry. When was that? Like 3 years ago, 2022. I think it's Valencia, if I'm not mistaken. And seeing now back then it was more introductory, and people had very basic questions about what it is, what the main components are, what the main concepts here, and the discussions. If I fast forward to this KubeCon, and you see people are already deep into the OpenTelemetry. I spent some time at the OpenTelemetry Observatory, which is, like, for those who haven't been there, like a booth where you can come and meet maintainers. I'm a maintainer of one of the SIGs, but also catching up with other maintainers. And you see people approaching with much more mature type of questions, type of needs, better understanding of what they need, what kind of telemetry they ship, the volumes, and so on. So I think definitely we see the rise of that. William, did you get to see the stats? Any interesting things that caught your eye?
I hadn't seen the stats. I'm actually looking at when you linked it. I'm actually looking at it now. They don't surprise me, to be honest. I'm quite pleased by it. What I experienced while being at KubeCon, maybe it's just because what people know me for But there were certain trends about the edge computing, the bare metal part, so projects like Metal Cube, how to. They were coming to me just with questions and not questions, but conversations about these projects, the CNCF projects. What I liked a lot is a confirmation that given in Europe we have this a sovereign cloud movement starting, right? Sovereign cloud requirements. So a lot of organizations coming around and questioning how what is the appropriate way to do infrastructure provisioning for sovereign cloud. The hyperscalers know how to do this. Of course, they do it. They have methodologies and they have very standardized way to do it. But we all need to be able to do it, and we need to enable organizations to do it and to move fast for the AI space, for the platform space, for the edge space, whatever you want to call it. And that's what I was saying. More also the NeoNephos initiative.
Yes, exactly. That's one of the big announcements
Right,
that was
pushed by
made.
SAP, pushed by SAP, and with the Silva, the Silva project, which called Sister Project. They all these conversations make just sense, right? And the projects that are associated. If we There is one thing that about the observability that Kasper was mentioning that for me resonates when we talk about platforms. I don't understand why observability wasn't such big before, given the fact that we know that if you don't understand it, you can't improve it. So when a system is observable, when a platform is observable, you can understand it, you can improve it, you can secure it. So observability, yeah, it's a big deal now. Maybe it should have always been. Um, that's that's just my closing on this on this one. Yeah.
Actually, you mentioned on the sovereign cloud. I think this is a major topic throughout Europe, both in this KubeCon Europe edition, but also I've seen that, for example, when I was at FOSS Backstage in Berlin 2 months ago, was that, and it was a serious topic that took a lot of conversation, a lot of both on the talks themselves and also on the hallway track. So it's definitely something that is top of mind for Europeans. And obviously, maybe I'm biased, but I see that open source is an important conduit for this mission, and I was really glad and proud to see this announcement from KubeCon that the CNCF has teamed up with the big European companies. It's not just SAP, by the way, that you mentioned, others as well.
Yeah.
Quite a few big names there, European companies, European government institutions and governments that really team together on this new program, NeoNephos. By the way, I put the link here for the folks on the live stream. We'll show that on the show notes as well. And yeah, it was a fascinating keynote on SAP. So I'm curious. Both of you have worked on you're Europe based, and you experience that day in and day out. What do you see on your conversations, maybe your own companies, and the concern about sovereign cloud? Kasper, do you want to give us your take on that?
That's a good question. I think, yeah, as mentioned, I think there's a lot of people that are really looking into this now, given the political situation we are in right now. It's not something that I've spent much time on, to be honest. At Azure, we are definitely providing European-based regions, and of course also US-based regions for our customers there. But that's probably the closest I've been to that so far. So maybe William has a better answer than I have.
Yeah, sure. I have done work in the telco space and known. Of course, the telco, it's kind of always the pioneering entity when it comes down to large scale computing for end users, right? They have the infrastructure already, so that's where it's happening. if we exclude hyperscalers. What is important to what I've seen is the bare metal management, and this is might be a very detailed and tactical what I'm discussing, but it ties up to a larger conversation. So the bare metal, the handling of bare metal is a story that that brings up the deficiency of what we had in cloud before and what we have in cloud now. So, like for telcos, was the bringing up the network virtual functions to the containers, in example. That was something that was blocking, right? Now they can do it. We have fantastic projects like OVNs, with KubeVirt as well. But with so now we are seeing new problems with the sovereign cloud, that are the bare metal. Again, the bare metal, it always fall into the bare metal, right? The bare metal provisioning, the complex network orchestration as well with AI, when we want to manage the example, the NVIDIA NVLinks, or that we can't, thanks to NVIDIA closed source. Anyway, so again, open source rules. What I am pleased to see and what is necessary is and beside the political issue, we had this before political issues, so I'm not going to any political issue, but the Europe has started this with OVH Cloud, or with things like Exascale, or things. I'm just dropping names here, right? But they are doing amazing work on providing European-based computing capabilities and computing regions to organizations. However, we also have very strict requirements on things like, I'm based in the Netherlands, so thinking about vendors in the Netherlands that provide computing and data residency in the Netherlands and maybe in Germany as well. And Kasper, probably in Denmark, you will have something very similar. So we have to give this pattern and this standardization of how to build ground up from the bare metal to the service to the end user at home, in a just a citizen, or as well to an organization. Those patterns that are clear and defined for those not, let's call them country scalers, not hyperscalers.
Yeah, and you see definitely the project initiatives like Gaia X, which is led by the EU, the European Union, and you see initiatives like you talked about Germany and Austria have very strict rules as well. That obviously, and then you have local providers that cater, like Schwartz Digital, that launched like this. And people know little, but from the shopping side, but also they have like their own cloud provider in the group as well now, as part of the Schwartz group there, that provides some traction, and you really see the need, even if the maturity, by the way, is not on par with what the big hyperscalers will provide. They still answer a very clear need with regards to the sovereignty. So I think this is definitely a big theme. By the way, going back to the survey, that the CNCF survey, one of the other things that I at least loved seeing is the increase in adoption of CI/CD automation in organizations. They really showed that CI/CD use of CI/CD in production grew like 31% year over year between 2023 and 2024. The surveys for 2024, and also happy to see big projects on the open source side, both CNCF and broader, like see Argo there. I think it was the fourth. You see Jenkins, that has been long standing. It's part of the CD Foundation, the Continuous Delivery Foundation, a sister foundation under the Linux Foundation. So you really see open source there, alongside obviously GitHub, GitLab, that you'd expect. So really the adoption in general, the tooling space. And for me personally, that also further validated the need for CI/CD observability that I've been preaching and evangelizing on for many years, and actually this was part of what I was talking about this KubeCon specifically. I'm a co-lead for a SIG, a special interest group that we started under OpenTelemetry to standardize on CI/CD observability. And that's why it was very interesting for me, and I shared with the SIG members about the really this is something that we need to urgently address, because if the proliferation of CI/CD and automation comes hand in hand, we talked about the need for observability, then you need to understand these pipelines, not just understanding your workloads in production, but also what goes on in your release pipeline from first commit all the way to production. What goes on there if suddenly it takes a lot of time, your builds you have flaky testing, what the heck goes on, where it comes from, what can you do to improve these, because this is ultimately your lead time for changes if we talk about DORA metrics. So this is something that I've been pursuing as part of the CNCF in general, the OpenTelemetry project in particular. If you're interested, by the way, for the audience there, if you're interested in this topic, do check out either the recording from this KubeCon, or last KubeCon we published actually on the CNCF blog a whole article about this initiative. And yeah, join us on the CNCF Slack, OTL-CICD. Happy to have more folks, because we really want to we already have integration or reference implementation, if you will, and exporters for receivers for GitLab and GitHub, but we want to expand, obviously, and cover Jenkins and cover Argo and cover many other TeamCity. That was part of the interesting discussions that came up. So really, CI/CD observability was prominent in this survey, and I was really, really happy to see that taking place. By the way, we talked about like announcements on the CNCF announcements with NeoNephos and others. Another interesting announcement that came out of this KubeCon was, or actually just before KubeCon, it was more about the Linux Foundation, but the fact that Infrastructure Foundation, OpenInfra, joined the Linux Foundation. Most of the people probably know that via the project OpenStack. I suspect, William, with your background with NFV and all of that you did some things with OpenStack. I did that back in the day. It brings up good memories. I haven't done anything in that in the past few years, but this is definitely a prominent project there. So curious your thoughts about this merge and about the future of OpenStack under the Linux Foundation umbrella. William, do you want to take it?
Yeah, sure. It makes sense for me. OpenStack is not dead. Many people talk about OpenStack like it's an old thing and it's a dead thing. Actually, many things that telco is doing is running on OpenStack. Many things that FinOps, very large FinOps organizations are doing, it runs on OpenStack. OpenStack was never designed to be an application delivery platform, but it was designed to be an infrastructure orchestration platform, and it does it very well. It orchestrates the bare metal, it orchestrates the network, it orchestrates storage, and it does make sense to have it under the umbrella of the Linux Foundation, or under the umbrella of organization that can provide ties to the rest of the cloud ecosystem. OpenStack is cloud, and for some reason was not part of the cloud native world. So it just simply didn't make much sense. Now it does make sense. And especially with these, again, beating on the same drum here, but with the sovereign cloud conversation, OpenStack is back in the picture and up front and central. So with Kubernetes and with other players as well. So yes.
Yeah, Kasper, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I haven't really spent time with the OpenStack world, to be honest. But I totally agree that I think many companies, just going back to the sovereign cloud a little bit, I think many companies right now are, at least me coming from a banking background, are like re-looking at their exit strategy, just making sure that that they are actually able to move if necessary, if things escalate even more than it is right now. I agree. Yeah, OpenStack could be definitely a player in that space, depending on what options you have for exiting whatever cloud vendor provider you are on right now.
Yeah, I want to say we all are technology, so we love talking about technology, but I want a word about the community. For me, and I'm based in Tel Aviv, but very close to, obviously, to the Europe ecosystem, and I'm really happy to see, first of all, again, KubeCon Europe being, or not for the first year, being the biggest KubeCon amongst the KubeCons around the world. But really, KubeCon Europe is the flagship event that brings the community together throughout Europe. But very importantly, most of the in-person activity of our cloud native community happens locally within the local CNCF chapters and meetup groups and so on. I've personally run the CNCF chapter in Tel Aviv for many years, and it was an amazing experience. And actually, you're both involved in the communities throughout the Nordics and the Netherlands, respectively. So maybe, Kasper, you actually co-founded the Cloud Native Nordics. You like united the different meetups across the region. Can you tell us a bit about the vibe, what it is, what makes the Cloud Native Nordics unique about that?
Yeah, sure. So a little bit of context. So I started the Cloud Native Aarhus group with a bunch of other organizers, and Aarhus is the city that I live in here in Denmark. It's the second largest city in Denmark, and we were basically just looking. So this was in early 2017. We were looking for peers that was starting to use this thing called Kubernetes, and we basically just wanted people to talk to and discuss these things with. So we created a meetup group, created a Slack community. Cloud Native Denmark, I think, was or something like that, was sort of the initial. And then, as I was actually writing a master thesis a couple of years before that, using Kubernetes on Raspberry Pis. And with that, I met Lucas Kjellström, who was back then was the 16-year-old guy who ported Kubernetes to ARM. We didn't really know that when we were writing the master thesis, so that was a little bit of a shock when we found out that we were basing all our master thesis on a 16-year-old guy's work on porting Kubernetes to ARM. But that was fun. But Lucas is based in Finland, and he was trying to do more or less the same thing in Finland, and we been chatting a little bit back and forth, and met at a few KubeCons, and we were just, hey, maybe we can help each other across these different countries, and maybe there's more of the other Nordic countries that are doing similar things, and let's just try and create this thing, Cloud Native Nordics, as an alliance to make it easier to bring in a few speakers from the US or from other places in Europe, and maybe have them like do a tour across the Nordics, stuff like that. So we actually did a couple of what we call roadshows, having two speakers tour 3 or 4 different cities across the Nordics. So that was really great. We basically tried to create this, make it as easy as possible for if you wanted to get a meetup group up and running. Here's a slide, here's templates, here's a list of things you could do. Lucas actually went crazy and created GitHubs for meetups as well. So we had, at some point, we had everything in YAML, all speakers, all events, all things that were just being yeah, that was actually quite horrible, but it was quite fun. It was back when GitHubs was like the new hot thing. So that was fun. But yeah, it's basically
how
been
big
around.
is it today? Tell us about fast forwarding to today. What are we talking about?
I think we are 14 groups right now across the Nordics.
14.
Yeah, 14.
Wow.
I don't know what the total number of members are, but I think in the biggest groups we have around 1,000 to 1,500, depending on the city. So it's probably representing more than 10,000 people across the Nordics that attend these meetups regularly. For me personally, I just think it's awesome to meet the local community, bring back reflections from KubeCon. We have an event this week actually here in Aarhus. But basically just meet and discuss Cloud Native and eat cake for the 10 years of Kubernetes and stuff like that. It's fun. It's good fun.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And by the way, part of there's also the groups, and I think part of the strength and the power of our community lies with DEI. I know that the topic close to your heart, William, and I enjoyed your talk there at KubeCon. So really, but for context, within the CNCF, we have like the tag, the technical advisory group for contributor strategy, and it started a new a BIPOC initiative to foster more, I guess, equitable ecosystem for Black, Indigenous, and people of color. So, William, you're one of the leads of the initiative. Do you want to tell us a bit about this? This was your lightning talk there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. Yeah, I must say I could have done better at that lightning talk. I was rushing left and right, and I just ran over the stage. But anyway, yes, thanks for mentioning the BIPOC is indeed an initiative and is not yet a working group. We're working towards being a working group. The goals of the BIPOC working group is to empower and foster, empower BIPOC members to become leaders, contributor of open source, and to help organizations see more clearly that that diversity must be part of their day-to-day. Embracing diversity must be part of their day-to-day. I'm sorry. I thought I lost you for a moment. Okay. No.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're with you.
So yeah. So what we are doing in the BIPOC is we are starting several initiatives within the BIPOC. One is the mentoring program. So where we are collecting mentors, leaders, coders, programmers, software engineers, speakers, people like you, Dalton, people like you, Kasper, that are willing to dedicate some time into mentoring BIPOC members to become leaders as well in whatever it is that they are putting their mind to. So I find it this is one thing what I'm trying to start as well, and this is one of the reasons why at London I joined the Kids Day, is to try to start something with the Dutch schools, so then the schools in the Netherlands with children in underrepresented groups to bring the open source values, the computing, to bring some interest into computing and cloud native to the children in the school in the Netherlands by building programs with them. And somehow I wanted to get at Kids Day this inspiration, and I got a lot of inspiration. It was quite amazing to be there. So
Awesome.
yes, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, I've also been a little bit involved here in Denmark, not in a specific BIPOC program, but with kids in general. We here in Denmark we have something called Coding Pirates, which is a non-profit organization that basically helps kids learn about technology. And one of the things we've been doing in the community here in Denmark when we created our KCDs was to support them with all the profits that we had from these two events we had the 2 past years. We donated all the money from those 2 events to that organization to basically help kids play with the microbits, learn how to code, figure out how does the computer work. I really find that rewarding as well. It's been so much fun. I also teach every Wednesday in this Coding Pirates thing. It's a fun experience to see kids and the excitement of getting a robot to drive back and forth and do a turn or something like that. It's quite fun, and yeah.
Oh, that's Kasper. Then you and I are definitely hooking up on this initiative as well. Maybe you can help us out to lay out a program.
Sure.
Some of the programs that we're planning to do. Absolutely fantastic.
That's the connections that the power of the CNCF Ambassador team has. So amazing to see. By the way, for those who don't know, even in the main KubeCon events, there are dedicated activities for children. So if you're a parent, if you have children, you can bring them to KubeCon, and you'll actually have some cool things to do with them there. So and by the way, if you're already mentioning, sorry,
and it's for free. It's
It's for
you know,
free. Oh, it's
you
part of
and
the
your kids
you,
don't
you
have
as
to
the
pay for it.
parent, you pay, the child joins.
Oh, you
Yeah,
can just
that's
bring him.
true.
You don't. From what I understand, you don't need to join the conference. You can just bring the children to
Oh, I didn't even know that. That's super
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Super cool.
yeah.
And I did want to mention upcoming events for those if you're already mentioning KubeCon. So we're now recording it 2025 after KubeCon Europe 2025. So for this year, we're going to have quite an active year. We're going to have in June 10th in China, KubeCon China in Hong Kong, and then a week after that, KubeCon Japan in Tokyo. Actually, that's going to be the first time in Japan. And then in August 6th in India, KubeCon India in Hyderabad. So really seeing the Asia being present in the cloud native community, also in the tier 1 events of the CNCF. Really happy to see that one. And then in November, towards the end of the year, we'll have KubeCon North America this year in Atlanta in November 10th. And and next year, 2026, we'll have KubeCon Europe. Next one will be in Amsterdam, going back to Amsterdam actually, and then the North America edition will be in LA in October. So more updates on that. So stick with the show; you'll get more on that. But just to give you a glance of where you can join one of these tier 1 events. And as we said, we also have the local CNCF chapters that you can look around in your neighborhood, or KCDs, Kubernetes Community Days, and other activities. So do look up the activities in the community. One more note, going back to observability. That I found interesting, a talk that was about the observability query language standardization. I actually am a big believer that I guess maybe the biggest power of open source is actually not in the tool, but in the creating open standards and open specifications. And one of the initiatives that it took time to take off. It's been around, but very slow moving at the beginning, and now picking up nicely, is really trying to create some sort of standardization around the query language for observability. And I really liked it. The talk was given by Chris Larson from Netflix, and then there was Alolita Sharma, who's from Apple, but also she's one of the observability tag chairs, and also I forgot the name of the gentleman from Google. So it was really diverse, and they shared also the stats. We talked about platform engineering before, so it was interesting for me to see also, because the stats that they shared showed who actually runs these queries, because people imagine automatically, especially in the observability space, that these are probably SREs or DevOps. But actually, when you break it down today, especially with this AI becoming more prominent and so on, you see that the first and foremost, these are the developers that consume and these queries and use that. But then again, you see really the rise of platform owners, library owners that become more prominent in consuming. You see data scientists becoming like at least 10%, I think Netflix reported, were data scientists. So when you come and design a new DSL, a domain-specific language for querying, suddenly you need to change your mindset, because you have more personas to address and more diverse use cases. So it was a very interesting discussion. And by the way, the TLDR is that actually after looking into all the many languages out there, PromQL and LogQL and then DataDogQL and Google Custo, whatnot, they ultimately are looking into, surprise, SQL or SQL-like syntax for querying observability. I find it funny. We've been with SQL for decades, and people have been talking about, no, it's old school, and now you need to look at NoSQL and this and that. But apparently people circle around and come back to the fact that SQL provides, I guess, the best, or at least most people know it best, and easy for them to express themselves. Again, think about also now data scientists and others that are not necessarily DevOps and SREs. So PromQL for them is very odd, or things like that. So I'm curious, by the way, if any of you have any thoughts on that, Kasper.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting discussion. I think now we sort of standardized on open telemetry as sort of the way to collect and send data, right? I think that's sort of the first thing. Then we are slowly standardizing on hopefully also using Perseus as a standard for our dashboarding. And in that, hopefully at some point, we will have a standardized query language as well, allowing like end users to actually take everything and just move them between different vendors and have the vendors compete further down the sort of the chain, right? In terms of the query language, it's going to be interesting to see where it sort of lands. At Azure, at least, we've sort of settled on PromQL for now, at least. As the query language, it's really what is supported in most of the different CNCF projects as it is right now. So using the HPA or using autoscalers and stuff like that, or using Argo to have custom queries to do something. So for us, it makes a lot of sense to use PromQL to make sure we are able to integrate with all of those tools in the ecosystem. But it's going to be interesting to see where all of this lands. Definitely. I think that's my answer.
Yeah.
William, what you thought about? Yeah, I think I agree with you, Kasper. But there is also one thing that we are engineers, so we have a strong problem. When we create something, we make it not fully understandable by people not like us, or not in the context that we are. So when we SQL, as you mentioned, Dothan, it's old, but it's great because it's not made for engineers. It's made for people that need to get the data out of that box. The OpenTelemetry standardizing on a query language that is similar to SQL or SQL-like, let's say, makes absolutely sense, because the personas that you mentioned are not engineers. They might be engineers for 10 minutes, let's say, right? I mean, they have a specific job, and as part of the job, every once in a while they have to get data out of their box, and that data in this case is telemetry data that is helping them shape and understand what is happening, what has happened, and what will most likely be happening. So I don't want to get a PhD on that query language. I need that query language to be human, close to my human capability. So PromQL is powerful, Kasper. And you probably, it sounds like you might know it better than me, but it's built for engineers. Let's look at it. Looking at it. It's built for engineers. I think the future, when we talk about telemetry and querying telemetry data, is going to look like something closer to conversation, like or closer to SQL for now, let's say.
By the way, you already see that. Like I can tell you, I'm involved with the OpenSearch project. It's not a CNCF project; it's a Linux Foundation project. But in the observability space, and one of the things is that you have like the ability to write queries in natural language, and that you'll have like a system that will translate it into the formal language. It's called PPL, the piped processing language, that is the natural native one for OpenSearch. But anyway, it doesn't matter which DSL. It matters that you can express it in natural language, and then it's being translated. And I've seen that in other projects and other products as well. So it's definitely something that the industry is going towards, not as a replacement of the DSL, but definitely as a bridge for people who are novice, or let's say are less fluent with the DSLs, to bridge the gap and lower the barrier to entry for newer users. So I think it's an interesting trend.
It's also going to be very interesting to see, because right now we are in the year of agentic AI, right? So it's also going to be interesting to see how much we actually going to need a query language going forward, or whether or not we have agents that will just summarize whatever we need. So that's definitely some potential in that space as well, that will maybe or maybe not will remove the need for diving deep. Maybe the agent will do it for us. We'll see.
So I know that this discussion has come up in the working group. Yeah, I can tell you it has come up in the discussions in that working group around the standardization. At least the from what I remember from the discussion, that after analyzing the current state, at least that natural language cannot entirely replace the need for a DSL. But again, things move fast. Maybe fast forward 5 years from now, we'll be in a different situation. Definitely, as a bridge, I see the benefit there. I think we're getting close to the top of the hour, so maybe you can tell the listeners where they can follow up with you, hear your thoughts, and chime in other discussions. William, do you want to go first?
I'm sorry, Dotun. I was distracted. Could you repeat?
It's okay. So the question is, where can people follow you?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I'm hanging out in the CNCF Slack as Will.i.am, as well as in the Kubernetes Slack as Will.i.am, and as well in the Linkerd Slack as Will.i.am. But also on LinkedIn, William Rizzo. Very easy to find. I normally accept all the connection requests. And I'm on Blue Sky as William Rizzo as well.
Great. Kasper, what about you?
Yeah, you can find me, of course, also in the CNCF Slack. I have my old tag name in there. It's Phoenix with a PH, ENNEX. So you can find me in there. You can find my Blue Sky, kaspernissen.xyz. LinkedIn, of course, search for my name. I'll be at the KCD Budapest in a couple of days. So if you're there, join me there. Maybe there's a few conferences, KubeCon Japan as well. So yeah, I'll be around in the community. So there should be plenty of options to get in contact.
Sounds great. So thank you so much. Yeah, please, William, go ahead.
If I can mention, I'm sorry, I keep interrupting. We are organizing the KCD Utrecht, and on the 3rd of July, we're going to be in the Netherlands at the KCD Utrecht. So we are really hoping to have some people joining us over there. So come around.
Yeah, we mentioned about the local communities. KCD is a great place to catch up with the local communities. If you're based in the Netherlands or around, definitely check it out. Thank you so much, both of you, Kasper, William, for joining me on this one, on the episode. Thank you so much. And and thank you for all our listeners there for sticking around with us for this hopefully interesting full hour of updates. And we didn't even scratch the surface of how busy and packed and insightful this KubeCon has been. As always, all the episodes, this and others, will be available on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube. So do check it out. And if you are now listening for that on your podcast app, do know that we stream the episodes live on YouTube and Twitch. So follow us on Blue Sky or on X or on LinkedIn on the show pages to get the live stream times and to chime in, and also follow up on some of the interesting discussions that we have here. And with that, I'm Dotun Horvitz. Pleasure having all of you. Until next month's episode, may the open source be with you.